Hi, my name is Peter. I'm a junior and I go to Binghamton University, and I'm going to be answering some questions about small group. So the first question I had was, what made you invite your small group members to plant and how did you do it? So I think it started when I went to the Ambition conference this past winter, and I went to a seminar, and the speaker there told us to print out a map of our campus and give it to our small group members and have them pray over where their heart is most broken towards. So that's what I did. On our first small group meeting, I got a map of our campus and I gave it to each small group member, and I asked them to pray and reflect over where their heart is most broken towards and where they feel like God is leading them towards. And after a little while, I asked them, what do you think? How do you feel? And one of the small group members named Carl said that he is sad that there isn't a small group in one of the communities on our campus called CIW. Emily, another small group member, agreed with him and said that she's also sad that there isn't a CIW small group, and she used to go there, and so she would like to see a CIW small group happen. So as they were saying this, I didn't say it at the time, but I was thinking, okay, so maybe God is calling you to go there. So after a little while, a few weeks later, I talked to my staff worker and the small group coordinator and asked them what they thought about sending Carl and Emily to plan a small group in CIW, and they were all for the idea. So I asked Carl and Emily to see if they would be willing to plan a small group in CIW. Which leads to the next question, which is, what resistance did you encounter and what did you do? And I guess resistance, if any, was that Carl and Emily were both a little hesitant to plant a CIW small group and lead there, because they told me that they hadn't received any training as a small group leader, and they just weren't sure if they were ready to be leading a small group. But I encouraged them by telling them my story about when I first was asked to lead a small group. I just flat out rejected, and I told the guy who asked me, "You have the wrong guy. I'm not the man for you." But I still, after being encouraged to lead small group, I still obeyed, and I did it, and God helped me to lead a small group, and I encouraged them to do the same. And I guess God moved their heart, and after about a week, they both agreed to plant CIW small group and start a small group there. So they've been having small group for the past 2 weeks there, and I heard it's going great. The last question I had was, how is your current small group going? So actually, when Carl and Emily left our small group, I was a little afraid because we had 5 non-Christians attending our small group, and because Carl and Emily had left, there were fewer Christians that could lead the conversation. There were 2 other Christians besides myself, and I was afraid that the conversations wouldn't flow. But what actually ended up happening was that the non-Christians felt more comfortable to ask questions that they had because there were less Christians. They felt less intimidated to ask the questions that they had. In both small groups, God has been just working in tremendous ways. That's it. Thank you for listening.